What's going on, guys? I'm going to give you a quick rundown of my top 4 baitcaster setups when it comes to fishing offshore bass, fishing for groups of fish. You know, not very often is it as simple as, I've got one bait, I pull up to a spot, throw that bait till they quit biting it and just leave. A lot of times, you've got to make a rotation through, several different baits. And honestly, a lot of times whenever I'm fishing for schools, I've got a pile of rods out, because I'm always trying to show them, something new, something that might get you a couple extra bites, because you never know, that might make the difference, catching a couple of big ones a day, throwing some different stuff. So anytime I roll over a school and they're wadded up down there, I'm gonna pick up a DT20, DT16, some kind of big crankbait. And, I throw a crankbait first because I feel like you can reel it through them so fast, you can get a good reaction bite out of them. Seems like it takes them a little longer to figure out what's going on. Once you get that school fired up, seems like you can pluck quite a few of them if they get excited before they really know what's going on. One hook. Oh, we got him. When it comes to finding schools of fish, sometimes they just get in silly places. There's just no other way to put it. And these ones, they're just on a little rough spot. It's just kind of down the bank here. There's not really a great way to explain why they're here, but all that matters is they are, I still want that crankbait grind in the bottom. See, it makes it more erratic. You're kind of starting it, stopping it, just making it look like a hurt bait fish. So a lot of times I'll burn it real fast and stop it, just trying to get one to kind of run into it that's chasing it. After they start to figure you out and quit biting the crankbait, slow down a little bit. Maybe you say you jump one off or break one off. Sometimes that gets them a little bit weird. Then I'll usually go to a big spoon, or I'll just transition straight to a jig or worm. A lot of times I don't really throw the spoon unless it's too deep to crank. If it's too deep to crank, I'll start with a big spoon. That way I know that I'm getting down there in the strike zone and I've got a good shot at drawing the biggest fish up first. A lot of times this isn't a bait that I'm just randomly casting around. A lot of times I'm trying to find a school, or I'm trying to find a piece of structure, and I'm just really throwing it right at what I'm trying to target. Right now we're just kind of throwing it around a group of fish. The one thing about a spoon is they are hard to cast, hard to throw a long ways because they catch so much wind. This is a Dixie Jet, but the cool thing about this spoon in particular is I can just pitch it out there and it'll walk right away from you, probably an extra, add an extra 20 feet to your cast. I'm just letting it slide down there to them and just trying to get it around the fish, and then I'll start, jerking it and stuff like that. Trying to get them excited. That's what it's all about, is trying to make them think that there's a big gizzard dying and that they've got to have it. For some reason, it just seems like a lot of times when I'm fishing schools, you'll catch that big one the first few that you catch. So you definitely want to throw a big bait that you feel like you've got a better chance at getting that big fish to bite. But once I get done with those 2 moving baits, a lot of times I'm going to pick up a worm. I'm going to pick up, a big shaky head, something that is also going to get big bites, but in my mind, it's just one of the best cleanup baits there is, One's got a big trick worm on it. But any kind of worm, I'm going to drag it real slow through them. And honestly, I like having a bait that's on heavy line, big hook, and you've got a good landing percentage. Man, like I said, you get a few of them cranking for sure, but whenever they quit you, don't be afraid to pick up a worm or something to drag through them just to pick up a few extra ones. Just sitting there pretty as you please, asking to be fed. It's simple. I mean, it's your normal old school bass fishing, just throwing a worm out there and dragging it through them, and all of a sudden it goes thunk. And I'm just throwing just a 7-inch straight worm, throwing it on a shaky head. I like to do that a lot. You can Texas rig it, you could do whatever you want with it really, but a lot of times if I'm fishing somewhere where I'm not around just a whole lot of brush, I'll just put it on a shaky head and just drag it through them. Just pretty simple. Whenever I start dragging, I'll throw the worm, but I also throw a big football jig, something, a big profile, something I think I can get, a good fish to eat. I really just depending what kind of mood I'm in, which one I pick up. And it doesn't really make a lot of difference, but when it comes to a jig, you know, a lot of times I'm throwing a half to a 1 ounce football jig. You know, I've got some kind of twin tail on the back of it usually. And, you know, a lot of times I'm just dragging it slow through them. Here's just a jig fish. Not a bad one there. Tell you what's funny is, you know, I kind of made a few casts in there and didn't get any bites. And, you know, I had been kind of pulling my jig vertically and hopping it, and that time I started dragging it to the side, you know, really keeping steady contact with the bottom, and that one ate it. So maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not. You know, whenever you're fishing a jig, you can actually fish it pretty quickly, cover water efficiently. And, you know, honestly, once I fish a place with a jig, I feel like if there was some there, I probably would have got a bite. So it's just such a fishy bait, super simple to fish. You just got to put it in the right spot. You know, this is basically my bait caster setup that's on the deck every single time I'm fishing for groups of fish. Of course, you know, not a bad idea to get out a drop shot, a Nico rig, but as far as bait caster setups, and I think, you know, these are 4 baits that you've got to have when you're fishing offshore structure and offshore schools of bass.